Hi again. John Urquhart, The Wonders of Prophecy, dealing still with the fate of Egypt, and specifically the fulfillment of one text. I will sell the land into the hand of the wicked. He says the resources of the country have been wasted. We have seen that its skilled industries have gone, all attempts to revive them have failed, the wealth of the country has disappeared, and in its stead there stands a liability which it is utterly unable to discharge. Ismail Pasha found the finances burdened with a small debt of about 3 millions and a quarter. It soon swelled to the enormous amount of more than 91 millions. The history of the loans reveals the terrible recklessness of the strangers. None of them were negotiated for less than 12%, and the railway loan with its sinking fund cost more than 29. As much as 36% per annum has been paid for the renewal of bills. Out of 5 loans amounting in nominal value to nearly 56 millions, only 35 millions reached the Egyptian treasury. Mr. Cave reports that on this amount the Egyptian government had paid, by the end of 1875, in interest and sinking funds nearly 30 millions, and that notwithstanding these huge payments, nearly 47 millions, that is 12 millions more than the government originally received, remain to be redeemed. If we ask how the money has been expended, we merely open another chapter of the story of the waste of the barrage, a scheme for damming up the Nile, which cost 3 millions and which has been in process from the days of Mehemet Ali to our time. Mr. Villiers Stuart says, quote, instead of traversing the stream higher up where it is confined within a single channel, the French engineers had chosen a site below the point at which the mighty flood divides, thus augmenting the expense of construction and ensuring heavier commissions and percentages. The costly structure is more picturesque than useful. The foundations are not deep enough to withstand the enormous pressure of the waters when the sluices are closed, and consequently it has served to irrigate the contractor's pockets more than anything else. End of quote. And that which is more precious than land or skill or wealth, the patriotism, the national sentiment of the people, has also been wasted. I place 2 statements together. Of the Egyptians, as they entered upon their long ordeal of suffering, Wilkinson says in his book The Ancient Egyptians, though far better pleased with the rule of the Macedonian kings than of the Persians, the Egyptians were never thoroughly satisfied to be subject to foreigners. To the Romans they were equally troublesome. Proud of the former greatness of their nation, they could never get over the disgrace of their fallen condition, and so strong was their bias towards their own institutions and ancient form of government that no foreign king, whose habits differed from their own, could reconcile them to this rule, or to his rule. For no people were more attached to their own country, to their own peculiar institutions, and to their own reputation as a nation. That's all Wilkinson. Urquhart says, such was the Egyptian of the Persian or Macedonian, and even of the Roman occupation. With that picture, compare the following of the Egypt of today, and this is all from Villiers Stuart, Egypt After the War. I have not been able to discover any trace whatever of nationalism. Arabi did not attempt to appeal to any such sentiment. It would not have been understood. I came out to Egypt sanguine as to the possibility of establishing representative institutions upon a popular basis, but a careful and anxious inquiry into the actual state of feeling, into the political elements, into the fitness of the great bulk of the people, and as to any wish that may exist among them to possess them, has satisfied me that an interval of reformed administration must elapse before such a change could be either prudently or successfully carried out. Urquhart says, there is light beyond the darkness for Egypt. The Lord is smiting that he may heal. He has brought them low. He may yet bring them lower. For it stands written, they shall cry unto the Lord because of the oppressors. But he humbles that he may in due time exalt them. He shall send them a Savior and a Defender, and he shall deliver them. And the Lord shall be known to Egypt, and the Egyptians shall know the Lord, in that day. In that day shall Israel be the third with Egypt and with Assyria, a blessing in the midst of the earth. For that the Lord of hosts hath blessed them, saying, Blessed be Egypt, my people, and Assyria, the work of my hands, and Israel, mine inheritance. That's one of the most amazing prophecies in Isaiah, chapter 19, verses 20 to 25. But of course, it's a millennial prophecy. It can't be fulfilled right now because of the cruelty of the oppressors. So Urquhart says, but the point before us now is this. We have viewed it in its length and breadth, this prophetic picture of Egypt of the present. We have tested it in its minute details. We have taken them one after another, 5 in the preceding chapter, 10 in this. We have laid down each with the same feeling of astonishment. The fate of Egypt's 2 ancient capitals is described and discriminated. Thebes is to be broken, to be rent asunder. The idols of Memphis are to be destroyed. Its images are to cease. And for 19 centuries, Thebes has continued in fragments, while Memphis has perished. The temples and images of Thebes remain. Those of Memphis have disappeared. The earlier capital still attracts the traveler and still affords a shelter to the children of the soil. The later capital has neither inhabitant nor memorial. And as it is with the capitals, so it is with the country and the people. It was declared that from the time of the Babylonian conquest, Egypt's story should be a story of decay. And from that time to the present hour, the career of loss and degradation has continued. Notwithstanding all our own efforts as a nation, that is Britain's efforts, it is not arrested, even now, that now being about 1905. Egypt was still, however, to be preserved, to continue as a kingdom, though the basis of the kingdoms of the earth. Her degradation was to be marked in another way. She was never again to have a native ruler. A blight was also to settle upon the land. The rivers and the canals were to be dried up. The papyrus reeds and the verdure of the river banks were to be swept away. The fisheries, one of the chief sources of the people's food, were to fail. The industries, which were Egypt's glory and the fountain of her wealth, were to perish. She herself was to be a desolation in the midst of desolations, and her cities were to be in the midst of cities that are wasted. The instruments of her degradation and her misery were described. She was to be the prey of a rapacious, cruel, and foreign mastery. She was to be sold into the hand of the wicked. The land and all that is therein was to be made waste by strangers. Whose eye saw these things? Whose word declared them? One prediction might have been fulfilled by some happy chance, and perhaps a second, but what of all of these? Can the thought that their fulfillment is due to accident be entertained for a moment? And if not, whose is the book on which this seal is set? Is it man's book, or is it his in whose hand thy breath is, and whose are all thy ways? Put in a link to Yahweh and the gods of Egypt, because one of the astounding statements of Exodus 12, the story of the beginning of the Passover, is that God will judge the gods of Egypt. The true God will judge the gods of Egypt. So I'll put in a link to where we discuss that some more, Yahweh and the gods of Egypt. Next time he's dealing in chapter 6 with Idumea, that is Edom, and the seacoast of Palestine. See you soon.